Cool. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to WealthWave, and I'm glad you're able to spend just a portion of your lunch hour with us here today to learn more about our company, about who we are, what we do, and really, most importantly, why you're here. So we appreciate your time, and it is an honor for me to introduce our speaker today, who I consider a great friend and definitely a life-changing mentor to me and to many other people around him that knows him and works with him, and also a great role model to everyone who knows Chris. So 20 years ago, while having a successful CPA career, full of potential at one of the major, really international companies, Chris decided to have a career change. And the reason is because he wanted to have a career that is more meaningful, that is more fulfilling, that allows him to actually make more positive impact to more people's life, and to have a better work-life balance for himself and his family, and ultimately really to achieve financial freedom for himself. So he found our industry, and fortunate for us, he chose our company and has been with us ever since in the last 20 years. So Chris has built a practice with over 200 licensed agents. Together we have been operating, we operated out of 17 offices throughout the country. One of the things that I'm most proud of is that together we have helped 30,000 families and growing every day to get the financial household in order. So that is something that Chris wanted from his career, right? It's to help people have a better life, have a better future. So with his passion, he and his wife Marlo published a book called Couples Money, to help people change their kind of like program or their thinking, their mindset about money, so that they can make better financial decisions. So with that, it's no surprise that they both were featured on big interview by leading financial institutions like the NASDAQ.com, MarketWatch, Forbes magazine, and Fortune magazine on the work that they have done. And really, to me, I feel like it's a contribution that they have made to the industry. So you are in for a treat to hear from Chris, his passion, and what we do in a very intimate setting today. So take lots of good notes and enjoy the presentation. Thank you, Chris, for your time.
That was like your best ever.
Getting better every day.
That was so good, Tenzo. You make me feel good about myself. That's good. Thank you. Anyway, Tenzo, great having you guys. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. And what we're going to talk about today is the fact that in the United States, we have a major problem. It's a crisis. We call it a wealth crisis. And it's the fact that people are mainly financially illiterate. They don't know how money works. It causes huge problems in their lives. And until now, there hasn't been a real solution to that problem, whether that be through our school systems, our industry, even our own homes with our own parents. And so we at WealthWave have found a solution. And what we're going to talk about today is the problem, our solution to it, and then potentially your role in helping us advance our mission of stamping out and eradicating financial illiteracy in the United States. And so you might be on this webinar for various different reasons. You might be first and foremost a current client. And if that's you, thank you, because without you, we don't exist. And we're just super grateful for you for trusting us to help you navigate these crazy financial waters that we're in. So welcome. You might be a potential client. You're here and want to level up your financial literacy, understand how we operate. We welcome you. You might be on here like I was over 20 years ago, totally frustrated with your career, disenfranchised with corporate America, want to have more time, more control, make a bigger impact, want to do better for you and your family financially. And so we welcome you. You might be on here and you love your career, but it's not getting it done for you financially. And what the pandemic has taught you is you could stand to make more money, save more money. And so you're looking at us from a part-time business opportunity, multiple stream of income standpoint. We welcome you. You might be on here as what we call center of influence, where you're happy with your career, you're good financially, you're not really interested in anything that we're offering, but whoever invited you respects you a lot. They think it's important that you know what they do. They're hoping that you love our message. You sing from the rooftop, so to speak. And you make introductions for that person to help them grow their business. And so we welcome you. So my background, I grew up in Loveland, Colorado, about 60 miles north of Denver, to two amazing parents who did the best they could, but guess what? They were financially illiterate. They didn't know how money worked. They argued over money. They stressed over money. They divorced over money. 60% of divorces are tied back to financial stress. The 5 leading killers in the United States today are all stress-related illnesses. And my mom basically worked her entire life, passed away at 64, saved about $10,000. That was it. And, you know, colon cancer is what they said got her. But I really think it was just the stress around money, because from the time she was 5 until she was 64, she was always worried about how to pay her bills. How's it going to happen? My dad made it all the way miraculously to 88, died just about 3 years ago. We died broke. And so I took my money cues from who? My parents, right? And what did they tell me? Go to school, get good grades, get a good job with good benefits, don't rock the boat, don't take risk. And when you're 65, everything's going to turn out okay. And how's that model working? Well, it's outdated. In fact, it's got a 96% failure rate because 96% of Americans retire broke. And but what did I do? I followed it, went to Colorado State University. I got an accounting degree, and then I moved down to Denver in 1993. I went to work for a large corporation called Arthur Andersen. And for the next 7 years, I put my head down. I climbed the corporate ladder. I worked 70, 90 hours a week. And I thought that's what you did. And so my turning point there was my most memorable week. I was supervising a group of eight people. We were working on a very difficult client. We had a major deadline that fell the Monday after Easter Sunday, and we were way behind. And it was looking like we were going to have to work on Easter Sunday. And so in my household, to my mom, Easter was the deal. And when I disclosed to her that it was looking bad and I was going to probably have to work Easter Sunday, she kind of looked at me and gave me that look that only a mom can give, which is basically figure it out, or there's going to be a smoking crater where you once stood, right? And so I figured it out. And I cut out sleep for the next week. And I worked 120 hours in a 6-day period. I think I drank 3 kegs of coffee. We got the job done. My brother and I lived together. He didn't know what happened to me. He was calling me, sending me emails, and he thought I got kidnapped. He didn't know if I was a drug dealer. I mean, he didn't know what was going on. And so I got home. It was 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday. I was exhausted. He was waiting up for me, and he started asking me really irritating questions. This is like the closest to family intervention I ever had in my life. But it basically was like, what are you doing? This is insane. Is this what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life? And he started getting in my kitchen a little bit. I was irritable. I snapped back. We got in an argument, and I didn't like it. However, the blessing that came out of that was he got me to really start thinking. And he woke me up out of this state that a lot of us humans are in. It's a hypnotic state. We call it a hypnotic trance. So it basically says, studies show that 91% of our thoughts today are the same as they were yesterday. And one of the real secrets to life that people don't really ever understand is if you want to change your life, you got to change your thinking. And so sometimes you need these moments that kind of wake you up. And I think one of the gifts of the pandemic was the fact that it got people to really think. It woke them up about what they wanted their lives to look like. And so that was that moment. And so I sat down with a pad of paper. I grabbed a book that I highly recommend you pick up. It's called Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich. Notice thinking comes first, right? Think and Grow Rich, written by Napoleon Hill. And so Napoleon Hill got connected to who was then the wealthiest man on the planet at that time in the early 20s, a guy named Andrew Carnegie. And an interview that lasted 3 days, what came out of that was a question. And the question was, if Carnegie would introduce Napoleon Hill to 500 of the most successful people on the planet at that time through Carnegie, and if Napoleon Hill could follow around those 500 people for as many years as it took, and could he pull out of those 500 most successful people like Edison, like Ford, Alexander Graham Bell, Woolworth, Wrigley, Rockefeller, 8 presidents, 5 prime ministers, were there common themes? Were there common denominators that made all those people wildly successful? And could he pull it out and create a book, create a philosophy that really any average person could follow what they did and have the same type of success. And so that was the journey. And so that's what Napoleon Hill did for the rest of his life. And by the way, he created the philosophy, and it's created more multimillionaires and more successful people in the United States, around the world, than any book ever. And so I started reading it. And what blew me away was it was all new to me. Like CSU didn't teach this stuff to me. My parents didn't teach that stuff to me. Anderson definitely didn't teach it. And I thought going into that all those people were, greedy capitalists, and it was all about the money. But man, I was super wrong. They wanted to make a big impact. They were on a mission, just like us, a big one. They wanted to solve a big problem. And as a result of solving a big problem, they got super wealthy in the process. And so that blew me away. They were on the mission of giving and serving and making people's lives better. So that was interesting. The second thing that blew me away was everybody in that book had something called dreams. I was like, dreams. Okay, I remember that word. And I had them at one time. And what happened to them? And what happened to me happens to most people, especially in the middle class. My mentor calls it the tyranny of the urgent, right? People live their lives in the tyranny of urgency. Most of it's not super important, but they get so focused on their everyday lives that they just kind of let these dreams that we once had as a kid slip away, and they don't think about them. But that world-class mentality in the book, guess what? They were dreamers. And they had big goals and dreams and aspirations for their life because they looked at it every day and they thought about it on a consistent basis. And I was just busy. And so I started really thinking about this concept of what would my ideal life look like? And it wasn't about material stuff, but it was about being in control of my life and having time and being an entrepreneur. And I got real excited about it. And so my dream was over here, but then I got quickly depressed as I looked at where I was. And I knew my career as an employee would never deliver that. And so I had the choice. I either needed to shrink and give up or forget about the goals, dreams, and aspirations that I had, which is what 96% of society does, or I had to go find the vehicle that was going to deliver that ideal life for me. And I just said, you know what? No regrets ever. I got to go find the vehicle. And I know I have to be a business owner. I have to be an entrepreneur. But as I started studying entrepreneurship, it was a little scary. And back then it was a lot of capital, a lot of risk, and no mentoring. And then I didn't like what I saw. And then I got excited about our industry, financial services. And I went and interviewed with some of the biggest firms on the planet, and they were happy to talk to me. But it turned me off that they were like, okay, great, Chris, make a list of everyone you know that has $1 million to invest, and let's go see them. And that list was 0, right? And so when they wouldn't go meet with my mom who had $10,000 to invest, that turned me off. And my heart could never be with what they were about. And then I landed on this, and it was February 1999. Holy cow, time flies, right? And I was invited to a live overview with a couple of my current business partners. And I walked in skeptical, and that's people that struggle are skeptical. It's one of the reasons they struggle is because they're always skeptical about everything. But I showed up, arms crossed, shut down, and my future business partner started speaking. And he said 3 things back then that still get me excited today, and I'm more excited than ever, 20-some years in the business. And the first is our mission. Our mission is stamping out and eradicating financial illiteracy. Like, I love that because I know from my experience what financial lack does to families. It rips them apart. And I got excited about the mission, and I love what we do for people. So the first thing was that. The second thing was I could get licensed. I could start this on a spare time, part-time basis. There was no risk. I could test drive it. And during the process of getting licensed and getting acclimated to what we do, I was probably going to learn more about how money works than I ever have in my life. Even being a CPA, no one ever taught me anything. I was totally financially literate. And then the third thing from a business standpoint that blew me away was I was sold the image and the dream of, hey, you build a business and you do it right, you help people, and then you create what's called a recurring income stream. And if that recurring income stream on an annual basis is greater than your bills, then you have financial independence and financial freedom. I had never heard of that in my life, because I thought that to make more money, you just worked harder, and trading time for money is not a good wealth accumulation strategy. So long and short of it, came on board and just carved out a little time and built this business in the nooks and crannies of my life, and then went full time a year later. And here we are, and we are in the expansion mode of our entire life right now. We want to add 10,000 new financial educators to our business, and we really think we can do it in the next 2 to 3 years based on the stuff I'm going to share with you guys. And so first and foremost, this was a question that was asked to me back in the day, and it was like, what does control look like for you? And what I realized was whoever controls your paycheck controls your life. They control where you live. They control, the schools where your kids go. They control your time, how much vacation you have. And I was kind of over that. And then one of my wealthy mentors said, Chris, how risky is it, right? Because people think employees the safe route. It's not. How risky it is to put 100% of your revenue generating efforts in the hands of somebody else and no control in your hands. And I thought about that. And so I wanted to have more control of my time and all those things. And so you got to ask yourself, what does that look like? And being an employee is usually not going to give you what you want. And so as I've been having this conversation with a lot of people here, especially post-pandemic, and really challenging people that, being an entrepreneur is not even optional. You got to do something. I obviously feel strongly about us being an incredible choice for those that are a good fit for it. But even if you're on here and you're like, I don't know if this is a fit for me, keep talking, Chris. Be thinking about what are some things that you can do to bring more money into your home, because people just need to make more money. That's one of the challenges. Real wage growth isn't going to keep up with inflation. People are more behind now than they ever have been. But if you're looking at us, I like the market that we're dealing in, because people think real estate and retail are big. And if you add them up, it's not even half the size of our industry, financial services. And of that 109 trillion, what you're going to find is it's mainly super high net worth. It's mainly large institutions. What's left out of that, which is our niche, is the other 96% of society that needs help, that the industry doesn't want to work with. And the reason I bring that up is that's a pretty big niche. And you can be pretty average and ordinary guy like this guy and operate in a big niche, and cool things can happen in your life, and it makes you look a lot better than you really are, right? And so it's huge. And our industry is stuck in, multiple decades ago. I call us the Uber to financial services, right? What did Uber do? They came in and they disrupted a very old, broken taxi cab industry. Well, that's financial services. It's the taxi cab. We're the Uber. And it's why we need to attract more people, and everybody needs our help. Hundreds of millions of people need it, right? You got parents of boomers that have their challenges financially. You got baby boomers who are behind. Corporate America doesn't love them. They're kicking them to the curb. We love them. We love to show them the encore career here. They bring a lot of value to us, but they need to work. They want to work. They want to contribute. Generation Xers, that's me. Like I said, disenfranchised with corporate America. And they're looking for opportunity. And then the millennials have kind of watched what's happened to their parents, and they don't trust the industry. And so it just, all these people, and the needs going through the roof. The amount of people who can serve the need is dropping like a rock. The average age of some in our industry is 58. And it's not that 58 is old. It's just 20 years ago, it was 38. It's the same people. And they're getting ready to retire. It's insane. And so it's got to be changed. And so we need to find the people to fill this void. Aegon's our parent company, large multi-billion-dollar Dutch company. And, they did a financial literacy survey, and they realized that 70% of people in the world are financially illiterate, which is nuts. And what blew me away about this is US, right? Wealthiest country on the planet, and we're 7th in financial literacy. And so the industry doesn't want to help. In fact, the industry does better when you know less. We'll talk about that. they're totally conflicted, okay? School systems, pre-pandemic in the state of Colorado, the State Board of Education voted down any kind of budget allocation for financial literacy training in schools. But you got the internet, and there's a lot of information out there, right? I mean, you Google financial stuff, it's going to pop up, and there's not a lack of information. However, what we have found is people need coaches. They need financial educators like us, because left to their own devices, people either do nothing and freeze, procrastinate, or they make a mistake that they'll never recover from. And so what we are is we're coaches first and foremost. And so I've had coaches throughout my life. One thing that I've learned from coaches is they get me to do things I wouldn't otherwise do on my own. So hundreds of millions of people need guidance, right? With all this education that's out there. And I love this. WealthWave, that's the name of our firm. We are the How Money Works company. And our mission is to stamp out financial literacy everywhere so families can dream again. There's that D word again. And what I know, because for a big chunk of my life, I lived in lack and scarcity and fear around money, and it had been in my family for generations. And if I wouldn't have ran into this company, it would have perpetuated for many reasons. I mean, it absolutely transformed our family for generations. And so, but what I know from looking back on that is it's tough to dream when you can't pay your bills, right? And so people not only have to manage their money and learn how money works better, but once again, they have to become entrepreneurs. They got to bring more money into their house. And I had a mentor, this was years ago, I never forgot it. She looked me right in the eyes and she said, Chris, you'll never know how good you can be in your life, right? You'll never reach your full potential as a person until money is behind you. What did she mean by that? Until you're not stressed around money. You're not worried about money. It's not dominating your thought processes, right? So once you get to that level of financial independence, then you have clarity of mind, right? To extend your service, go serve people. And it became a rallying cry for me to do whatever it took to get there. And so we're on a mission. We want to help millions and millions of people have that same feeling, because it's a good one. And it's one of my missions on this planet. I want people to have peace of mind around money, because most people don't do it. So it's a phenomenal mission. And so what we did is we created an educational system, because we searched the planet for there's got to be some good financial literacy training out there. And what we discovered was there wasn't. I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. However, he wrote a money book about 5 years ago. I mean, it's like this thick. I think it's like 1,000 pages. I don't know. Man, it's a snoozer. It's black and white pages, and the type's like this. And I mean, I like literally 4 paragraphs in. I love this stuff, and I'm like falling asleep. So can you imagine how everyone else views that book? They don't even look at it. It's too much. And so what Tom Matthews, the founder of WealthWave, Steve Siebold, go Google Steve. He's got the longest running study of self-made millionaires and billionaires on the planet. And so he teaches people how they think and what they do. Unbelievable stuff that he's created. Go search him out. But he came on board with our firm. I think it's been over 2 years now. And these guys got together pre-pandemic, and they decided to create a book called How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker. And they've gotten it out. And it's, I think they're at about 600,000 books sold. It's the #1 selling financial book in 2020. Everybody loves it. Why? Because you can read in about an hour and a half. You're going to learn more about money than you ever have in your life. As you can see, it's got pictures and characters and colors. And if you Google CNBC Rule of 72, CNBC loves it. The media loves it. They've been doing, media tours via Zoom. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And so if you're attending today, text whoever invited you. If you do not have a book, tell them, send me a book. And if you can think of a few people, we'll send you more than one. But you got to get this in your hands and spend some time with it. We just ask that you actually read it and then give feedback to whoever sent it to you. So anyway, and what I like is it teaches realities. It meets people right where they are. It teaches concepts that are easy to grasp. And then it teaches how do you implement those things, right? Because people read a lot, but once they read it, it's like good information, but how do I actually implement it in my life? And so we'll show you how to do that. And once again, it's the #1 economic crisis in America. That book came out last fall, pre-pandemic, and they made that claim in the book, and I was like, is it really the #1 problem, right? So I didn't quite believe that. Then the pandemic hit. Then I saw the average small business owner had 2 weeks worth of savings. Unbelievable. People eagerly awaiting a $1,200 stimulus check. People didn't have savings. They didn't have reserves, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, man, it is. We just got the proof. And so big problem. That's why we got to expand and add 10,000 new people. And you guys can read, people don't have enough money to cover a small emergency. Student debt, $1.8 trillion problem. If you know anyone that's got student debt issues, I mean, unbelievable. I was talking, I'm a CSU alum. I was talking to a couple people, 2 ladies that graduated a few years ago, 6 figures of debt, making like $38,000 and $40,000 a year. I'm like, I graduated CSU in 1993, making $26,000 a year. There's my proof. Wage growth isn't keeping up with inflation. It's not keeping up with the cost of college. And so anyway, we got some really magical student debt solutions. If that is you, please reach out to whoever invited you, because we can take you through that process. Credit card debt. 33% of Americans have 0 retirement savings. Anyway, ugly numbers, but that's why we keep doing this. And you know, I'm starting to fly again, and when you start flying, hopefully when you go to the airport and you look at your plane, hopefully there's 2 wings, and if there's only one, please don't get on, right? But man, people have a 1-wing plane trying to fly through retirement, and they think that Social Security and their 401k is going to get it done for them, and it's not. They just can't do it. And really, that other wing is personal savings, personal responsibility. In my opinion, once again, I'm a broken record on this. You got to make more money. You got to be an entrepreneur. If you Google the term gig economy, that's the economy that we're entering, right? Airbnb, Uber, DoorDash, Instacart, you know, those types of companies, man, it's all about the gig economy. We're a professional services version of the gig, and a lot more explosive than just driving for 12 hours a day and what you can do here. But we got to teach people how money works, and we got to teach them how to become entrepreneurs so they can fill in that second wing and have a good retirement. As you guys can see, almost nobody is saving enough. They're all behind, and they're procrastinating. And that's, you know, like I tell people, I'm like, this stuff's not hard. It's just easier not to, right? This is something in our lives that falls into that. I call it the important, non-urgent quadrant of our lives, right? But most people spend the majority of their time in urgent, important, urgent, non-important. They don't look at the non-urgent, important part of their lives, like health, spirituality, relationships. Money's one of those things. So we just want to move it up in priority so that people don't get behind even further. It's why we do these events. And one of the things that we're discovering, one of the craziest stats on the planet, is 63% of Americans are more afraid of outliving their money over dying. Okay, unbelievable. They're living longer. They can't keep up with inflation. And so this is a conversation. I had one of these with a 50-year-old lady yesterday. She needs to be here. She's here. There's a massive gap. And she is financially illiterate. Phenomenal lady. Brilliant. But guess what? No one ever taught her how money worked. And so I said, sister, we got to come up with something here. We got to close that gap. Otherwise, you got to work forever. You got to pull back on your lifestyle. You don't want to move in with your kids, right? So we got to be thinking about the strategies so that we can fill that gap and create reliable income. It's going to last as long as you do, with potential to leave a legacy. Okay, so that's we are masters at that. And so little financial literacy training here. This is a good one. Teach yourself this. Go teach your kids this, grandkids. Rule of 72. It's a guy named Albert Einstein that called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. And so the cool rule here is you take 72, you divide it by the interest rate that you hope to achieve. That's how long it takes for your money to double. So 1% in the bank, 72 divided by 1, your money's going to double every 72 years if you can find 1%. The average rate of a savings account in a bank in the United States today, get ready, 0.09%. 72 divided by 0.09. It will take your money, it'll take 800 years for your money to double. 800 years for your money to double. That's not the crazy part. Are you ready for the crazy part? The crazy part is there's $10 trillion in those types of accounts. Why? They don't know any better. They don't know any different. They don't have financial literacy training. They don't have the book. They don't have access to a financial educator. We want to wake them up, because let's move that up to 9%, right? We've been able to do that. Safe, secure, 9% type of returns. Your money is going to double every 8 years, not every 800 years, okay? So anyway, crazy. That's why we got to get education out to people so they understand. They understand how taxes work. And you're either going to learn how to pay taxes the way the government teaches you or the way we're going to teach you. And if you were to take $10,000, right, and invest in a farm, right, would you rather pay the taxes on the seed that goes in the ground, the little amount of seeds in your hand, or do you want to pay taxes on what the harvest is going to grow to? Well, you want to pay it on the seed as it goes in. However, the majority of people have their money in a couple tax buckets that don't serve them long term. Tax now. And it's deadly paying taxes as your money's growing. Tax later, which it's okay to have some money over there, but guess what? The debt keeps growing, right? We haven't paid for a couple wars. The pandemic is, costing us trillions of dollars. And so what's going to happen is in your 401ks and your IRAs, if you don't plan it right, you're going to be paying at a very high rate when you pull that money out, right? So we need to bring in some tax never strategies and implement those. And most people, unfortunately, are very clueless on those. And so we want to educate you on that. So text tax never to whoever invited you and say, how do I do that with whoever invited you, so you can diversify that. It's a big thing. And then this is what we do for clients on a complimentary basis. We walk people through, it's usually 2 different appointments. First and foremost, we want to give you a financial education, right? So that you can make decisions. We're not going to turn you into a PhD, but we're going to make you aware. And then we're going to look at, different protections, how to protect your family, how to protect you, life insurance and different types of life insurance. And, the average life insurance death claim paid out in the industry last year was about $12,000, not getting it done. Your biggest asset is not your home, your car. Your biggest asset is your ability to make money. It's not even close. So we want to protect you there. Long-term care insurance is a gigantic market. It's super expensive. You go over the age of 65, there's a 75% chance you're going to need assisted living. It's $6 to $8 grand a month now. It's just growing. It's a supply and demand thing, right? You got tens of millions of boomers running through that system. It just gets more expensive. And what happens is people save their whole lives and they get wiped out in a number of years paying for their care. So we want to protect that to make sure that's not the case. We want to create reserves and savings. So things like pandemics come along and you have the ability to weather the storm, decreasing debt, getting you on a debt reduction plan. Obviously, once again, student debt. If you have any student debt issues, please respond to whoever invited you. If you know anyone's got any issues, we got a magical solution there for the right person. Cash flow, finding money that's kind of leaking and blowing out of your lives, and people are usually losing the money game $5 and $10 at a time. So we want to free that up for them. Teaching you how to make more, right? Building assets, making sure that we're avoiding taxation and outpacing inflation, and then doing some, really inexpensive ways to protect you with wills and trusts and powers of attorney. And we've had some crazy stories in our group here in the last couple of weeks of people that didn't have medical powers of attorney, durable powers of attorney, and man, it's created a disaster for them and their families. And so we got some solutions there. Anyway, really cool stuff. Follow whoever invited you. Go through that process. You'll be enlightened, and you'll feel better about your financial future. And so, and then bring in some strategies to the table that can help you in multiple ways. And we call this our Swiss Army knife of financial products. And so, if you were to go camping, what you don't do is you don't go to the kitchen and grab a knife and put it in your pocket and grab some scissors and grab a spoon and a corkscrew and, you weigh yourself down by about 10 pounds and you go camping. No, what do? You grab one tool. It's your Swiss Army knife. It does multiple jobs, and it's super effective and efficient. And so we have the Swiss Army knife of financial products. This is the number one way that me and my wife invest, and it's been pretty cool during these crazy times because there's zero market risk. We've been able to get 8-9% type safe, secure returns, and locking in incredible gains last year. And you can add long-term care to that as part of the package, and then different tax strategies to it. And so a great list of benefits, and super effective, as I said. So whoever invited you, if that intrigues you, we can send you a 4-minute video on the Swiss Army knife. You can educate yourself on that to see if that's a fit. And then, preserving retirement income and making sure people don't outlive their money. And, that's a pretty crazy stat. And with these crazy markets, right, we got to be able to help people. And so there's really 3 ways to invest. One I already showed you that's really ineffective, and it's called putting your money in the bank. Okay, 0.09% is not going to get it done. The second way is just to put money in the stock market, which is great when things are rocking, but not so great when it's not. And there's a guy named Warren Buffett. You probably heard of him. He's got 2 rules of investing. Rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1, right? And so what we bring to the table as part of the strategy is what's called a reliable income strategy. And what that is we put in a minimum floor. I got a great appointment at 3 o'clock today with one of my longest clients. It's been with me forever. And we started putting this strategy in, and it's been awesome as she's retired over the last 5 years. And things have happened, but she's been insulated from all of it because there's a minimum floor of what she can make. And then if the market performs better, she gets more of that upside. But what we've been able to take off the plate completely is all the downside risk. And then the ability to add, we call it a personal pension, the ability to add an income stream that she will never outlive her entire life, which is just awesome, right? It's super cool, and people don't know about it because unless you run across a financial coach, you're not going to know about it. And so if you're looking at us from a business opportunity standpoint, it's a big market. There's a lot of people that don't know, and they take unnecessary risk in the market where they don't necessarily need to. And so you can create a real win-win for them. And it's amazing what all the kind, we work with every company on the planet, well over 80 different companies, and they pay us to bring the clients to them, right? So our clients aren't paying for this stuff. We're getting paid to bring them to the table. And so it's crazy that we're literally saving people's lives financially, creating an income stream they can't outlive, taking all the risk off the table, and we get compensated super good for that. And so if that intrigues you, follow up. How does that work? I want to know more about all that, right? And then if you want to combine that with, the Swiss Army knife of what we do, and you help 5 people a month, great things can happen. But guess what? You got to come over here. You got to learn some skills. You got to go to work. It's not overnight. It's not a get-rich-quick thing. No, you got to put in the time. But the reward financially is great, and the biggest reward is the ability to really protect people and secure them, and you get paid well as a result of doing that. And then if you want to do what I've done, which is, hey, I want to scale my business, and I want to teach and train and mentor people, then it's unlimited what can happen. So anyway, and we've done some big things, and I don't want to brag, but I like showing this because if I'm looking at it, I want to know, all right, are you guys making an impact? Are you making a difference? And we have, right? 250,000 plus people have gotten some financial literacy training here in the last 6 months. So yes, we have. And but we got tens of millions that we need to get to, hence why we're growing and expanding. And then just a platform that you can plug into. And I love this because entrepreneurs, 80% of small businesses fail in the first couple of years. Why? Because they spend all their effort, energy, and money on creating the platform. And you don't need to do that, right? You plug in, the platform is there. The mentoring, I could spend hours on that. I won't. I think that's a thing that differentiates us from everybody out there, is just world-class mentoring. And our goal is to teach you how to do what we've done. We want you to do it in a fraction of the time. And you're going to be able to do it. And this is one of the ways you're going to be able to do it, because pre-pandemic, what did we do? We gathered. If somebody wasn't within 15 square miles of my office, I was like, yeah, you probably don't have a chance. Well, guess what? All the borders got removed. We went to Zoom. We went to virtual. And, we had training last night. We had 15 to 20 different states representing on that. And it's unbelievable. The amount of drive time that's gone, it's literally pushed us about 15 years into the future. So you can literally build anywhere in the United States, all from Zoom, your laptop. It's incredible, right? And once again, you got to be an entrepreneur. And we want to help you go from small E, which is employee, limited time, limited control, limited financial upside, to becoming an entrepreneur. And when I started this over 20 years ago, I was like, man, being an entrepreneur is risky. I mean, that, the image was you work 100 hours a week and it's nuts and there's tons of risk. And man, that's all changed, because you can keep your day job, do this part-time, stay that way forever. 60% of my group is part-time. Most of them don't ever want to go full-time. They just want to play financial catch-up. But back then, the risk was being an entrepreneur, and I think it's flipped. And the pandemic totally enforced that belief in me that being an employee is the unsafe thing to do. You got to be an entrepreneur. And we want to help you do this. We want to help you say no to those things. And it's a good feeling, okay? And work your business when you want to. And you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. We're going to coach, teach, train, and mentor you. So let me go through the options, wrap up, and then we're going to be done here. Option one is, I want to go through those 7 money milestones. I got to get educated. I need to go through and figure out how money works and get a plan put together. So follow up with whoever invited you, get that scheduled sooner rather than later so it doesn't get, put off. Follow up and go through our interviewing process to see what it would look like to really start this pretty risk-free, right? Keep your day job, go part-time. 99% of the people that come on board, they come on part-time, they transition full-time when it makes sense, or stay part-time. It's on your accord, your decision. Or just, if you're one of those rare people, you can start doing it full-time. So anyway, but go through that process and figure it out. And so as I'm wrapping up here, I want to ask you guys some questions. I think back in the day, I was asked some good questions that made me think, and good questions get you to think and hopefully come up with good answers. And so I'm just going to ask you, because we're going to ask you these in the follow-up interview, so you probably want to think about it. First and foremost, I was asked, and I'm asking you, does your career have the horsepower that you need to live the life that you want? And for me, that was a big fat no. And then I was asked, what intrigued me the most about what I just heard? So I asked you, what intrigued you the most about what I just covered? I had a huge list. It's very intriguing to me on multiple fronts. And then I was asked, why would you do it? Right? Why would you do it? And I had a big list of that. And then I was asked a great question. Can you think of a good reason why you wouldn't consider it? Okay. Great question. And outside of it just being different, and outside of it, I got to get new skills, and it's going to be outside my comfort zone a little bit. And there's some uncertainty, and your brain wants you to overthink things, and overthinking always masks fear. Outside of just, I'm going to have to grow, which I wanted to do, and maybe do some things that I'm not normally used to. Outside of that, I couldn't really think of a reason why. And I also knew I wouldn't know unless I actually gave it a shot, right? And I knew in my heart of hearts that if I didn't give it a shot, it would always be in the back of my mind, right? What if I would have went after that? And I didn't want to have that happen. So I just said, you know what? I won't know unless I play. And so I'm so grateful that I gave it a shot, right? And about that time, I started thinking, and I was just like, okay, man, there's this thing. Once again, it's that moment of truth, right? This is the life I want. The vehicle I have right now is never going to give me the life that I want. So I got a decision to make. It is shrink this to fit inside my current reality or go find the vehicle. And my favorite quote of Martin Luther King, I absolutely love it. He says, most men and women die at 18. We just wait till they're 65, 75, 85 to bury them. What was he talking about? They settle in. They get busy, right? They give up on their dreams. They go through the motions. And about that time, I read an article USA Today put out. They interviewed 10,000 people over the age of 80, and they asked them, hey, if you had to do it all over again, what would you have done differently? I mean, the answers were shocking. Like, oh my God, I would have started that business. I would have taken more risk. I would have got outside my comfort zone. I would have done this. I would have done that. And they all had one thing I never, ever wanted to have. And it was regrets. And it was regrets. I'm like, I don't want to have those regrets. And so I'm so grateful. I jumped in, gave it a shot, and it does. It has the horsepower to help you live an amazing life. And we just want that for you. And so I highly recommend, please follow up with whoever invited you. Do it quick while all this information is fresh. We're going to answer your questions. We're going to have you answer our questions. The ultimate goal is to figure out if it's a fit or not. And if it is, I can't wait to meet you and welcome you to this incredible mission of stamping out and eradicating financial literacy in the United States. So thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for your time, and be safe.